You talked about this not being really the best environment at the moment. And I think there's a whole host of reasons why we could say that's the case, particularly today with a move towards much more authoritarian governments, a United States of America that is retreating from the world stage. Ken, how do you see the outlook for being able to come to some resolution in many of the crises that we're seeing today? And again, where else might you see some of the blockages in the year ahead?
Look, I don't want to pick on Mark, but I listened very closely to what you just said. There were no actors in your entire recitation. There were situations, there were sieges, there were people who needed things, there was, need-based assessments. Nobody did anything. This could have been a description of a tsunami, an earthquake, a forest fire. There are no actors. And I think that epitomizes the problem that I think we came here to discuss. And it is not just Mark. I mean, this is a common approach among humanitarians to see, there are needs. Doesn't really matter who did what. We're just going to try to get, food and shelter and medicine to people, and that's for the good. Except that there are actors in these situations. So, it isn't just that there is a siege in eastern Ghouta. The Syrian army is pursuing a war crime strategy of starving 390,000 civilians in order to force the surrender of this territory. It's not just there is military activity in Idlib, but it is that, Russian and Syrian bombers are either deliberately attacking civilian and civilian institutions or firing utterly indiscriminately so that you have, 2 million displaced who are being pressed from the south from Syrian forces and from the north now by Turkish forces. And they are, in incredibly dire situations. And so, this is not just a matter of semantics. This is a matter of, how do you put pressure on the warring parties that are causing this humanitarian crisis because they are violating the most basic principles of the Geneva Conventions. So I don't cite a non-binding General Assembly resolution. I cite, this legal treaty that everybody, including Syria, has signed on to, in which it is absolutely clear that it is criminal to be violating in the way that is done every single day.
But how do you have that influence over them?
Well, in the case,
in an environment where everyone is disregarding international humanitarian law.
Yeah, no, in the case of Syria, because I think that at this point, Assad is kind of beyond shaming. The key has been Putin, because Putin does care about his reputation in a way that Assad is sort of past caring. Putin wants the Ukraine sanctions lifted. He wants a degree of normality in his relations with Europe. And the more he is seen as, providing the military possibilities for Assad to continue to pursue this war crime strategy of targeting and besieging civilians, the harder it is for him to get the things that he wants. And we've seen, not always, but there have been times when it has been possible to get significant concessions from Russia. So why do we have a UN Security Council resolution authorizing cross-border aid? It's because here in Davos, whatever it was, 4 years ago, we adopted the Sochi strategy and convinced all the relevant parties to introduce the resolution in the Security Council during the Sochi Olympics, when Putin would not want to veto and ruin his party. And it worked.